Welcome to my Gold Cup quarterfinals preview and predictions video. Now, as the title suggests, I'm going to be talking about all four quarterfinals, go through these one by one. As I do, you guys drop your score predictions down below in the comments and let me know, of these four matches, which one do you think we are most likely to see the upset in? This is CONCACAF. We don't usually see massive upsets, but nothing's impossible in the world of football. So I want to know your hot takes for the quarterfinals down below. I'll try to do some live streams for this game, but I might be traveling during some of them. It's going to be a mess. Just make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss not only more Gold Cup content, but more CONCACAF content. Always dropping on a frequent basis here on DeadBall TV. Smash the like button if you could as well. Let's get into it. The first game that we got to talk about is Guatemala versus Canada. And I'm just going to say this once, so I don't have to say it for every single quarterfinal. I think these games are bangers. I think the Gold Cup has been cooking. I think if you look at the potential of CONCACAF and what are the matches we could get in a quarterfinals, you know, a top 8 teams, this is like a 9 out of 10. I really don't know what could be better. I'm very satisfied. I'm excited for all these games. But anyways, Canada versus Guatemala played each other in the group stage of the last tournament. It was a 0-0 draw. Canada was missing a lot of A-team guys, but they still had some players in there. Bombita, Larea, Ali Ahmed. I think Guatemala did a good job just to keep the game ugly. Now, historically, Guatemala don't have the greatest record against Canada, just 2 wins all time, which on one hand, you can talk about how history matters and all that stuff, and on the flip side, they didn't have a great record against Jamaica either. And we know what happened in the group stage. I mean, I'll get to Jamaica's game next. Actually, I won't. Well, anyways, I'll be talking about them in my Gold Cup recap video, so hit subscribe for that. I like to bring up the history, not because I think it's the biggest data point I use in my predictions, but because I think it's really interesting, and hopefully some of you guys do too. Now, Canada slowed down a bit since match day 1 when they embarrassed the Honduran national team 6-0 at home. They haven't quite looked as scary or dynamic, in my opinion. Maybe that's because that first game was at home. Maybe it's because that first game they were out for revenge in one of the worst defeats in Canadian history, the 8-1 to Honduras. Maybe it's because of squad rotation. Maybe it's because Jesse Marsch wasn't on the sideline. I don't know. And frankly, it doesn't matter. Canadians need to take this Guatemala game very seriously. This is not the opponent that you want to look past with your eyes on the semifinal. Like, I swear to God, if we have the same situation like we did at the last Nations League, where all Canadians are eyeing a finals match against the United States only to lose before they get there, that's going to be a bit inexcusable. If it happens once, sure, granted, everybody needs a humbling moment like that, but happening twice, 2 tournaments in a row, not acceptable. In this game specifically, I think guys like Tajon Buchanan and Jacob Schaffelberg have to cook. And I think Tajon has been cooking. I think Schaffelberg has been quite horrendous this Gold Cup. And Canada needs him because Ali Ahmed is out for the rest of the tournament with an ankle injury. That's a huge blow. And Aaron Herrera from Guatemala has been a freaking beast this tournament. So that's going to be a key matchup to watch. Now, Guatemala, I think they're going to be tough as hell. Just by being here, these guys have overperformed. Now, are the Guatemaltecos having unrealistic expectations now for what could happen the rest of the tournament? Perhaps, but I think they're entitled to that. Getting out of that group was a big deal. They just rotated a bunch of their team in the last match day against Guadeloupe, and they still scored 3 goals. Any Canadian expecting a breeze here? I just don't see it. Maybe if Canada scores in the opening 5 minutes, this gets ugly, but other than that, I think Guatemala's really going to lock it down. And I think Guatemala offensively are better than any team that Canada had to play in the group stage. Maybe you could say Curacao offensively are the same level in terms of like threat and chance creation as Guatemala. And we know how that game went for Canada. I think it's fair to say that the pressure's on Canada as well. And this is a team that, at least in recent history, has not performed very well when the bright lights are on. Now, my prediction for this game, I do think Jesse Marsch and Canada will dig deep, will stay composed, and they will ultimately win this game. I think Guatemala, they are much better and most effective against teams that do not have a good midfield. They are very good at teams that struggle to possess, and I don't think Canada is that team. I think there's too many technical midfielders in this squad. Chouanier, Sigur, Kone, Saliba. They have enough tools to break down Guatemala. I think it's going to play out very similar to the Panama 1-0 victory against Guatemala, where Guatemala like to play out from the back. They are not long ball FC. This is not El Salvador. They actually want to hold the football, and ultimately they weren't able to because of the Panamanian press. And speaking of press, what is Jesse Marsch literally known for as a manager? High press intensity. I don't know if tactically, this is a good matchup for Guatemala. I don't think personnel-wise it's a very good matchup for Guatemala. I think Guatemalans' biggest hope is that they've been very clinical this game. Santi Salam have been a beast. Pinto was good as well. But they need to take the few chances they're going to get. If they don't, they're going to lose. They will have the home field advantage as well. That will be huge. Canada aren't really great in hostile environments. But at the end of the day, I'm either seeing a 2-1 Canada or a 2-0. Next up, let's talk about Costa Rica versus the U.S. men's national team. I think this is the hallmark quarterfinal of the Gold Cup in terms of, one, both history, these being, two of the 4 biggest teams in the history of CONCACAF, and also them walking into this tournament as top 5 favorites, both of them. Now, a little bit of history here. Costa Rica do have 6 wins against the U.S. as the away side, but the United States have won 19 games as the homeboys. And we know whenever they have to visit Costa Rica, it's a certified L for the United States. This is well documented. I wish that Costa Rica got to host the Gold Cup. I wish that every Central American team just partnered together and hosted the tournament. But this is CONCACAF. It's about money. We ain't never going to see that. So it is what it is. It's here in the States, and that does give a huge advantage to the United States. In the 10 matches at the Gold Cup all time, 8 victories for the USA, 1 draw, just 1 Costa Rican win in the 1985 CONCACAF Championship. That was the predecessor to the Gold Cup, which is a weird tournament anyways. Canada beat Honduras in the final. Mexico didn't even play because they were already qualified as host of the 86 World Cup. Kind of weird. The only other official victory Costa Rica has on U.S. soil is the 2018 cycle when they beat the U.S. with Bruce Arena in charge. Now, for the United States, I do not think it was the prettiest group stage, but they did control every single game, with the important note being that outside of Saudi Arabia, Trinidad and Haiti were largely a laughingstock, so it's hard to put too much confidence in the USA taking 9 points. They should have always taken 9 points, and in the one game they played a defensively sound team, Saudi Arabia, they created like 5 chances and scored off a set piece. It was not an easy game, and I think Costa Rica, they know what time it is. They're not going to come out here and try to play like Panama. This is not going to be FC Barcelona tiki-taka. They're going to go the 5-3-2. They're going to lock it down. They're going to rely on Keylor Navas and a very experienced back line to make this as unenjoyable as possible for the United States. Now, the defense for the United States has been quite strong. They actually conceded the fewest amount of chances to the opposition, just 9 chances in 3 group stage games, which is pretty insane. I don't care if it is Haiti or Trinidad or the Saudis. That's impressive. Now, for Costa Rica, I thought it was a solid group stage. I'd probably give it a B-. I think they had good moments offensively, and I think they had some really bad moments defensively, and those need to be nipped in the butt real quick before this match kicks off, or they're going to be in trouble. They did score 6 goals, and I think a silver lining for Costa Rica and what they will be trying to latch onto as their hope in this match is they are the best shot converting and chance converting team in the Gold Cup so far. In fact, they are the only team in the Gold Cup that have converted 100% of their big chances created. They've created 5 and they've scored 5. That sounds pretty clinical to me. That will need to continue. I have some doubts on why that might be, but let me not get ahead of myself here. The other key for Costa Rica is to not concede a set piece. If Chris Richards scores a header, this game is over. Now, my prediction here, I really want to call a Los Ticos upset, but I think under Piojo Herrera, Costa Rica are playing like a 7 out of 10 level. I think we saw Gustavo Alfaro at the Copa America and how scary they could be under him. That was Costa Rica at a 10 out of 10. This is Costa Rica at a 7 out of 10. And can a 7 out of 10 Costa Rica upset the United States? I don't think so. I talked about how clinical they've been recently. Well, they are without Manfred Ugalde, who's suspended through yellow cards for this match, and that is massive. Costa Rica are a really good team, and they're easily the best team the United States has played so far at the Gold Cup. I just don't think they have enough. I can promise you right now, this is what's going to happen. Costa Rica are going to sit back. They're going to try to absorb pressure. They're going to launch long balls up top to Alonso Martinez and Josimar Alcocer and pray that they can win. Unfortunately, I think the United States has the perfect counter to this recipe, which is Chris Richards. I think maybe Tim Ream might be a little susceptible to the long balls, but Alex Freeman's pretty fast. Max Arfston. There's enough for the U.S. to negate this approach by Costa Rica, and I think we saw in the Mexico game, Keylor Navas had to step up and make some huge saves. We saw the Dominicans score against Costa Rica. We saw Suriname score 3 against Costa Rica. They're going to leak chances. I think the United States is going to create far more chances than Los Ticos, and at the end of the day, they're going to have 1 or 2 moments where it's just too much and Costa Rica capitulate. I don't think this is going to be an exciting game at all, guys, and I think whoever scores first wins the game. If Costa Rica score first, they win. If the U.S. score first, they win. I think the other key for Costa Rica, if they can get it to extra time. Well, there is no extra time. It would go straight to penalties. If they can survive 90 minutes, 93 minutes, they will go to penalties. And if they go to penalties, I also think they beat the United States. So my prediction here is a bit weird because it kind of depends on circumstance. I'm going to say that the United States wins this game 1-0. I think it's going to be extremely close. But if it goes to penalties, I think Costa Rica takes it. Let's move on now to Mexico versus Saudi Arabia, which is a fascinating matchup. This is a rematch of the 2022 group stage game in the Qatar World Cup where Mexico wins 2-1, but we both get eliminated, so I guess it's kind of a wash. The difference here is that Saudi Arabia are going to be missing all of their best attacking players. Now, the Saudis, I've been very critical of the viewership experience watching Saudi Arabia. It's been brutal, but it's hard to argue against the effectiveness. They only have 24 shots in the group stage total, which is 4th worst, only behind Curacao, El Salvador, and Trinidad and Tobago, the mightiest offenses in CONCACAF. Their game plan is going to be this, guys. I can tell you right now. Sit back, make it really ugly, lots of flopping, create 1 or 2 chances, score, kill the game. That is what Hervé Renard and the Saudis are going to do. And if Mexico is not extremely careful, that's what's going to happen. I don't want to clown how dangerous the Saudis can be. I think Mexico, I'm going to say it now, I think this is the most likely upset. I think the most likely upset is Saudi Arabia beating Mexico because of how Mexico have been defensively and how poor we have been in terms of quality chance creation. The Saudis are a team that do not concede quality chances. They concede a bunch of little half chances, but even against the U.S., they did really well in that game. And I think the U.S. have a more creative midfield than we do right now. I mean, Malik Tillman walks into this current Mexican midfield, and they really struggle to find much. Mexico walk in here having won the group, but it doesn't really feel like a massive achievement given that the goals from open play have been non-existent. 4 of the 5 goals came from set pieces. Cesar Montes is the top goal scorer as a center back with 3. Edson's got the other one. It just hasn't been great, and there's been probably 10 to 15 minutes of good fluid football in every single game, and then it just dies off. And so Mexico, the absolute key to victory is score early because Mexico starts all these games pretty well. Starts off as the dominant side, feeding off the crowd, mojo's good, everybody's fresh, and then minute 20 or minute 25, it is pretty much dead the rest of the game. If Mexico does not score in the opening 15 or 20 minutes, this is scary hours. And again, I really feel like there's an upset to be had here. I mean, even talking about Asian competition specifically, let's not forget the Qatar game when Mexico have 30 shots, 9 on target. Qatar have 1 counter, boom, score, win, they advance to the knockouts. This Saudi team, band for band, player for player, is much better than that Qatar team. Much better. At every single level, they are better. That Qatar team was pure backups. Pure backups. This is still Saudi's kind of their starting back line, you could say. And so for Mexico, it's going to be about being clinical, taking the chances when they come, because I don't think there's going to be a lot of moments in this game. And in the group stage, Mexico created 10 big chances and converted 3. So that's a 30% conversion rate on big chances, which puts us on par with Trinidad and Tobago and barely better than the Dominican Republic and Suriname. So that has to improve. And in my prediction for this game, I think we are going to see an exact carbon copy of the 1-0 victory the United States had against Saudi Arabia, where Mexico, most likely, we are going to score off a set piece if we score at all. Now, my prediction for this game, honestly, I'm not confident at all going into this match. I think that on the bright side, we have looked very scary from set pieces, and the Saudis concede a set piece against the United States, Chris Richards, for the winner. So that's kind of like what I'm clinging on for hope right now. Outside of that, I think this is going to be brutal. I'm not looking forward to this in any way, shape, or form. And I think Mexico absolutely squeak by. I do not see a massacre. I don't even see 2 goals here. I think I think this is going to be dead footy FC. I'm going to say Mexico win 1-0. And yeah, I'll say it again. If there's any team that's truly on upset watch, I think it's Mexico. Because we're going to show up, be arrogant as hell, and the Saudis are going to punch us in the mouth. Last game we have here is Panama versus Honduras, which I am so freaking happy this game is happening. I think we're getting two Central American powers going at it. We haven't seen them play in 3 years. I think it's time for a pulse check. And let's honestly all say a quick thanks that we're not getting Panama versus Costa Rica for the 50th time. And I think Costa Ricans are probably happy about that too. Is it just me? I really think this is a 10 out of 10 quarterfinal. But anyways, getting back to the match, I think this can be summarized as the best team of the Gold Cup versus a team that is still trying to find or rediscover its identity. Panama have controlled every single game and looked comfortable up until this point. Meanwhile, Honduras recovered well from their ass whooping that they received from Canada, albeit against El Salvador and Curacao, but they did take steps forward, I think, in both of those matches. I think the argument for Honduras is that they were already humbled and humbled hard, and I think that can sometimes restart and kind of reboot a campaign when you take the massive 6-piece, but then you go out and you win 2 consecutive games. I mean, they finished on 6 points, y'all. Like, I think it's fair to say there's a little bit of hope for this team going forward, and I think that, we're talking about Curacao specifically, they gave Curacao a bigger scare than Canada did. So, Honduras, yeah, the team's not great. It's far from who they used to be at their peak, but they're not a completely dead team. There still is some potential here. The downside is defensively, they still look vulnerable. I think Menjivar, the goalkeeper, is still not very good, and they're talking about a game against Panama, who scored 10 goals in the group stage and looked like they finally have a somewhat clinical striker in Thomas Rodriguez, and that's one thing the rest of CONCACAF never wanted to see, is a Panamanian forward who finishes his freaking chances. I think the argument for Panama is a lot easier, that you've been the best team, you have better players, you have a better manager, you were runners-up last time, you were runners-up at the Nations League. I mean, this is not a fluke, and anybody suggesting that Panama are a flukish team, I think you're an idiot, quite frankly. Like, they have validated how good they are as a team. Now, were they to lose to Honduras 3-0, I don't know if one bad victory sinks the entire narrative, but that would be a huge statement from Honduras. And I mean, you take down Mexico and then you take down Panama in a neutral territory in the Gold Cup. That's a big deal for Rueda. I mean, I was saying maybe he's playing for his job. If he takes down Panama here, I mean, I think he's smooth for at least the first 4 games of World Cup qualifying. Unless they go abysmally bad, then maybe he gets sacked then. But that'd be insane. That would be insane. And you could even argue it would be a bit bigger victory than some of the Mexico games because it was played at home and Mexico always struggles away there. Anyways, I'm getting off track. And so I will place the YouTube jinx upon myself now. I think that Honduras winning is the least likely upset, and I'm really struggling to see any scenario in which Panama failed to get this done. So my prediction, I think there's usually one pretty high-scoring quarterfinal in the Gold Cup, and I'm going to go with this one here. I think Panama win 3-1. And that is my preview and my predictions for the Gold Cup. I know I didn't go super spicy on some of these takes here, but this is CONCACAF. We don't really see that many upsets. I think we've already seen some magic from Guatemala with Jamaica getting grouped. Are we going to see more? Probably. This has been a weird year for football. We've been seeing a lot of, history being made in 2025. So anything's possible. Like I said, I'll reiterate, if there's one team on upset watch, I do think it's Mexico. I would be very, very careful with that match if I was the Mexican national team. You guys let me know what you think down below in the comments. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. Again, hit subscribe for more Gold Cup and CONCACAF content here on DeadBall TV. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.